Okay, welcome back to episode 6 of the Blueprints 100% Lore and Completion series. Last time we made a lot of good progress actually. Did what, like 4 sanctums, 5 sanctums? Something ridiculous like that? Because we had one. Yes, we did 4 sanctums last time. That was kind of crazy. In the meantime, I said at the very end of the last session that I was going to be doing a few days, just trying to move some things along off screen to help progress the lore and completion. And so the list of things that I did since last time, I got the drafting studio once and added, or no, yeah, I did. I can't remember what I did though. I think I added one room in the drafting studio. I forget which though. I think there's 2 rooms left, whatever they are. I think there's 2 rooms left in the drafting studio. But I also made the drafting studio standard. I got it in the conservatory, so those should start showing up and we can get those out of the way. I got 6 more letters added to the mail room. Haven't gone and looked at them, but I did get them added from experiments. The crates in the tunnel, all gone except like 1, maybe 2, depending on, I don't remember what happens to the crate that had the key on it and stuff, if that one eventually goes away. But there's 1 crate down left at the end of the tunnel, so we can start opening up doors in the tunnel finally. I bought the t-shirt, trunks, and lunch from the Mount Holly gift shop just to get them moving, and we'll see them soon enough anyway. I changed, let's see, the library. I adjusted the rarity of the library to standard to bump so that it's we can see it just a slightly bit more often, since we still got a lot of books to get through. And I also changed the chamber of mirrors to standard, which sometimes I put it as common because I do like getting it. Not for this run, I think. For this series, I don't think I want it all the dang time, but would like to see it more often in the hopes of getting some new rooms from the upgrade up top. And there are a few ways to help move things along with that. And then I changed my dark room to rare, and that's about the only things I did. I don't think I made any adjustments to allowance or anything else like that. I only ran like 3 days, I think, so there wasn't a whole lot done. I just had really good luck with removing crates on one of those days and that sort of thing. Oh, and I increased my lockpick skills by like 6 levels, however much that means. So I think we are good to go ahead and get moving on this. Goals for today is to get past 50% easily. Like I want to clear 50%, not just squeak past. So we need a vault key for Aries. Hopefully I can get the clock tower now. We can take care of that, and then trying to get the Mechanarium will also be high on the list. We can also, when it's convenient, go ahead and shift the chest power over to King. And then my hope is that between now and next time, I will get next time started up on a day with 0 starting everything, and be ready to go down in Aries Court at the beginning of next week's stream. So we're not sitting here staring at the clock for God knows how long it is. So anyway, that's the plan. We'll see what happens, but that's where I'm aiming for this. So by the end of today, I want to swap chest powers, one way or the other. Okay, and we still have not seen the shrine at all. Like I forget if it's even. I'm assuming it's showed up at some point during drafting. Just there was something else that I wanted always at the time. But even so, it has not been showing up all that often, and we have not actually drafted it ever. There it is. Okay. All right. So things to do with the shrine powers. I need to do chef. We're not ready to monk anytime soon. So I think I'm going to go for chef because that has things that I do want. When it is time to monk, I have a list of rooms that I want to do outside. So, chef power. Let's go. I would like for 3 days at least. Let's go for 3 for starters. So that's going to be 7 gold. Yeah, we still have red Blackbridge. So we don't have the cursed coffers out here yet. Okay, so now we need to do some spreading. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Also need to build some more stuff, come to think of it. East Wing Hall. For the love of God, East Wing Hall. Okay, here we go. I know I've drafted it, because this is like, I think, the third time now, because I drafted it once during one of the days off. But yeah, this is still only the third time. And someone pointed out to me that I had already drafted it once, despite all my complaining about never having drafted it. So, hallways. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Orange. Where's orange? Right in front of me. Okay. This fenestrated hallway overlooks the east side of the estate grounds and is warmed in the early day by the light of the rising afternoon sun. Which is kind of a weird way to describe something being warmed in the midday, or in the early day by the afternoon sun. And there has been some to-do made about that over in like the Sanctum chat of why is that say that, what does it mean? I don't know, because the afternoon sun seems, like if it's warmed in the early day by the light of the rising sun, that's perfectly fine. If sun rises in the east, sets in the west, makes perfect fine. But the rising afternoon sun, that doesn't make sense, that combination of words. And I honestly don't have a good reason for that. Like, nothing that I've seen anybody point out has really made any sense, to me at least. And I don't understand it. I will say the use of the word fenestrated is near and dear to my heart, just because defenestration is a word that gets made fun of a lot in one of my favorite book series. And so it's one of those, he defenestrated him. That's a horrible thing to do to a man. What, throw him out a window? Oh. Why, what'd you think it meant? Never mind, don't, no. And it's a running joke for a while. But anyway. There's not a whole lot else to this place, obviously. And there's very rarely is anything too special about the hallways. But it is nice, big windows, which is what fenestrated means, by the way, is just windowed. Good connectivity. Not sure what else to say about this one, unfortunately. But that is our last hallway. Close that one up, and there's more completion points done. Hey, utility closet. That works for me. I don't remember if I'm going to hold off on that, actually, because I don't remember if the dining room has to be down already, and I don't want to risk wasting it. Okay. Oh, wait, no, I can't get what I want out of this room anyway, so... What some gems. I also need to start looking for more of those upgrade discs, come to think of it. Alright. I have to, because I need to add the rooms. Hate using the gems, but... Okay, so we're down to just these two, yeah. Dormitory, sure, why not? I never wanted to gem in that safe more than I do right now. Okay, we do need a library. That's fine. Did I request? Yes. Okay, so we're on Drafting Strategy, Volume 3. The only thing to note up here, Kimberly Thompson, if you look at the date on the card, it changes from here, June something. I forget the exact date, but I'll put the actual card up on for YouTube at least later. It's June something, single digits. And when you look at it for real, it changes to September. I rather assume that's a bug, because it's not changing anything, in a way that would give you a hint or information about something, and there's nothing that would say it changes when you look at it in the magnifying glass or under a certain light or whatever. It's just they changed the date at some point, and they just forgot to change it in both places, I'm assuming. So if anybody ever comes up with a theory on that, otherwise I'll let you know, I guess. But so, Drafting Strategy Volume 3. The Potential Within. To the ambitious young architect, the fresh blueprint represents a world of boundless possibilities. When you are staring at a blank canvas, you have unlimited potential and ideas to explore. But with an abundance of options at your disposal, the architect can also become overwhelmed by the countless choices and decisions that need to be made. Should I draft a hallway or a closet? How many bedrooms do I need in my house? Is passageway really worth 2 gems? All these questions can compound, adding layers of complexity and stress to the design process. That's why it's even more important to develop simple and effective strategies that you can employ while drafting your house to ensure a successful project outcome. In this volume of Architectural Digest, we aim to provide architects with some of these strategies and even assist them in developing their own. Gems, gems, gems! Every architect needs them. Although many architects employ different strategies when developing their house designs, most of them agree on one guiding principle: have gems while drafting. One of the most common ways architects draft themselves into a corner is by not having the resources they need when opening a new door. I kind of feel called out by this at the moment. If you lack the gems to consider all 3 presented options, you may be forced to draft a room you do not want. To avoid this predicament, focus on drafting rooms that grant you gems and prioritize acquiring gems as early in the day as you can. This approach is a surefire way to set yourself up for success. Make sure you check the gems in the room before clicking the door. I do this way too much. Alice F. If you see the gems for sale in any of the shops, buy them out. Matthew M. I think about saving some gems for emergencies. I try to only spend them if I really, really need a room. Jen H. Don't pass up the wine cellar even if you're not thirsty. There's no such thing as too many gems. I may have a bit of a problem. Craig O.
I will never draft passageway on the first 5 ranks. It's a simple strat that has served me well. Kyle P.
Some good testimonials there. Planning your house, estate layout, and drafting. When you begin drafting a house, it's important to start each day with a solid foundation. Draft early ranks first. A very common mistake beginners make is drafting in a straight line north and ignoring the many unopened doors they may have left behind in the entrance hall and rooms of the early ranks. When these architects reach the higher ranks, they quickly discover they do not have enough keys or gems to continue. Their day usually ends by returning to the lower ranks to draft from the doors they skipped, only to find rooms and items that would have made all the difference if they had only been found earlier in the day. As the layout to the right demonstrates, even a path of rooms that snakes through the house and does not go in a straight line can also be structurally weak if you are leaving lots of unopened doors on the ranks behind you. By starting each day on a strong foundation of rooms on the early ranks, you will have a much better chance of finding success when you eventually start heading further into the house. Top drafting combos. 5 combos you won't want to miss. Another aspect to consider when planning your house is the order in which you draft rooms. For instance, if you draft cloister before terrace, you will be down 3 gems. But if you draft them in the reverse order, cloister would be free. Identifying a synergistic pair of floor plans is an essential first step. But determining the optimal order for drafting those rooms will provide you with an additional advantage, significantly improving your chances of success. Other floor plan combos. A foyer drafted before a great hall would mean that all of its many doors would be unlocked. Drafting bunk room after nursery will give you 10 extra steps because it counts as 2 separate bedroom triggers. You won't have to backtrack constantly to collect your gold spread from the office if you draft a conference room. The more items you have, the greater your chances of being able to create a contraption at the workshop. Making a connection, estate connectivity. 2-pair combos aren't the only form of room synergy. You will find some floor plans only work by drafting other specific rooms. These rooms aren't powerful on their own, but can become very useful when their connectivity is eventually discovered. The utility closet is a perfect example of this. It doesn't do anything by itself, but it can literally power up or down other rooms that you have drafted in your house. The garage powers garage door and grants west path access. The dark room turns the lights back on after blowing a fuse, and the gymnasium turns lights off to prevent step loss. Other examples of connectivity. One of the more simple examples, her ladyship's chamber, has synergy with Lady Epson's other 2 rooms, her boudoir and her walk-in closet. The boiler room connects ducts from room to run steam power to specific locations in the house. Destinations in the house. Laboratory, garage, laundry room, furnace, and pump room all have uses for steam power. Speaking of pump room, this room controls the water level throughout the rooms in the estate and can interact directly with the pool, aquarium, greenhouse, kitchen, and several other features located outside of the main house. Tips and tricks. In the kitchen, you can check which course is being served in the dining room that day. This will allow you the opportunity to draft specific rooms that will make the meal even more delicious. Besides counting as 2 bedrooms, the bunk room also counts as 2 rooms. This will increase the amount of steps granted by the master bedroom, the amount of gold spread by the tomb, and the amount of keys found in the servants' quarters. Each time you solve a puzzle in the billiard room or parlor, the difficulty will increase slightly the next time you draft that room. Just because you didn't find any items in a room when you first explored it doesn't mean that will be the case the next time you draft it. The day after drafting the freezer, it enters an automated cooldown, refreezing cycle, during which it cannot be drafted for the next 24 hours. That's one that a lot of people aren't aware of right off the bat. If you're stuck, don't know what to do in a specific room, sometimes it's smart to move on. There are multiple ways to solve many of the challenges you will come across, and there is a very good chance you will find a piece of information down the road which may help. When in doubt, draft rooms you have never seen before. Even if you do not think the rooms seem very useful, they may still hold useful clues and information that may help you on your journey. A word from the editor. Although with this volume we have provided our readers with many potential strategies and tricks to try, we here at Architectural Digest hope that aspiring architects know that there truly is no set blueprint for success. Forging your own path and coming up with your own unique strategies will, in our humble opinion, always provide the best results. Each architect has his own favorite room, each builder his own favorite tool. And thus each player in turn will develop their own style of play and discover their own secrets and tricks that they can share with the world, or keep to themselves. Whatever strategy you employ, we wish you the best of luck drafting and hope you build the house of your dreams. Not really a whole lot to add to this, honestly, except the draft rooms you've never seen before is always a rule that I lived by when I was doing my initial playthrough, after I got a few days in and was just like, okay, well, never seen that one. That one wins this particular drafting choice. Yeah. I mean, this lays it out pretty much. I don't know of anything particularly of interest or secret to point out in this one. Just good strategy book. Yep. Oh. Yeah, kind of have to. Let's see what time it is. There's no clocks in here, right? No, there's no clocks anywhere nearby. Alright, let's check the time. Probably like 11 something. Maybe only 10 something. 11:15. This is, of course, as far away as it can possibly get from the foundation for me to come back here. Crap. Alright, so I have 2 hours at 7.5 minutes each is 15 minutes. We have not done the dormitory yet. I don't have time to read through that book right now, though. Alright, we're gonna draft this and come back to this later. Oh, there's a hall pass in there. Grab the hall pass. You will not lose steps traveling between 2 adjoining hallways, and hallways drafted from an adjoining hallway do not cost gems to draft. We'll come back and read that and talk about this room later. After we do the clock tower. I would like to be able to go north. That'll work. Secret passage is free. Why not? All right, Alzara number 4, I believe.
And, as it was foretold, I am awakened at the sound of a dropping coin. You find yourself face to face with the great Alzara. And I suspect you wish me to look into your future. The image is becoming clear. I hear the pattering steps of children running in the forest. The joyful echoes of laughter in the courtyard.
That kind of looks, at that brief glimpse, it kind of looks like Simon's clothing.
An old man sitting in an
Not sure about the children.
chair.
I wonder if it feeds into my theory that Simon and Clara lost 2 children
Generations,
in
each with their
stillborn or
own
miscarriage.
stories, each with their own secrets, each with their own endings, but all in the same.
There's the painting we talked about last time from the attic.
What you have heard here has been foreseen by the great Alzara. Until the dawn of the following day, I will have nothing more to say.
Okay. And we will be coming back here to finish this area off, but right now we have to hightail it back to the clock tower. Because when you find this gold, it's still like lots of 1s and 2s and 3s. You'll find gold in like 3s and 4s if you actually pick it up in the rooms where it's spread to. So, again, like I was talking about the other day, the conference room sacrifices some of the amount of the reward you get for the convenience of it all being in one place. Okay, so a little bit of time to kill here. Sorry about this. Let's go ahead and check updates here while we're at it.
Okay. Alright, we do have some stuff in the mailroom to read when we get there. We are doing the Blessing of the Chef. Doesn't count towards our completion, but it's still worth checking off. Okay, trading post. I need the trading post, and on the same day when the next time I grab the trading post, then I need to come in and get the showroom. I need to make sure I get the showroom. Both of which will be easier once I change king powers. So that won't be too bad to do. And commissary, I get another yellow one. I need to buy the one from there. We'll get the Golden Sunrise Soup. Let's see, I have not bought Swimbird or the Coffers, or Blue Tents, obviously. We just read Drafting Strategy Volume 3, and we're about to read Drafting Strategy Volume 2 in a little while. Dum-ba-dum-ba-bum-bum-bum. And we're in the clock tower for the first time.
Clock tower. Access to Mountain Holly's clock tower has always been heavily restricted, which might explain why maintenance has been unable to mend the perpetually halted clock face, a testament to the unchanging winds of the sacred hour. Several buzzwords in this one. The winds, obviously, the sacred hour. The fact that it stopped there, I don't know that maintenance has anything to do with that. That's obviously a deliberate thing on Herbert's part to make this the puzzle, because he was setting this puzzle up years in advance when he had Ann Babbage request more blue and red memos from Kirk when working on this, and that was in one of the security emails. The one here that is, I believe that's Araja on a bit of the Araja sigil. The swan, obviously, again, closely associated with, you see it a lot with, the Epsons and all the swan things that I've seen said that Mary is the one responsible for a lot of these swan origamis and other bird iconography around the house, and I can't say that that's wrong. She was into ornithology. This is one that I find very interesting, though. The Sacred Poem. So we have, southward I see a swan, ashen like sands of the shore, carried by westerly winds, rogue like the moon of the north. Eastward I see a crow, dark are the days coming forth. Now, the reason I think this is interesting, and this is my own personal theory that I have semi-fleshed out, is that... Let me see if I can get a clock visible at the same time, just so I can keep track of time. I honestly kind of think this might be Alzara's vision that, and his prophecy that didn't come to pass, that got him kicked out of the Aries court in an early era. It says he was an Arajan soothsayer in an Edge era court, in whatever, the 8th era, 15th year, or whatever of Edge era in the court of Aries. If you read it as one of Alzara's visions, think of it this way. Specifically, starting at the end of it, dark are the days coming forth. Desolate the Fourth, in the 4th era, brought ruin to the crown and the realm. He, brutally put down the insurrection in Fen, and the realm of Orindia Aries was lost at that point because of the war, thanks to him. And so, I guess he was the king right after the 4th era. Sorry, correction there. But he is still Desolate the Fourth, right after the end of the 4th era, is what essentially was the timing of the downfall of Orindia Aries. And what happens? Well, southward I see a swan, ashen like the sands of the shore. That one is still, I don't have a clear part on that one, I'll be honest. Carried by westerly winds. Well, the Nuance airships joined the war against Orindia Aries and came from the west, carried by their winds. Rogue like the moon of the north. Well, the general of the Northern Regiment, General Teskin, went rogue and turned against Orindia Aries by aligning him and the armies with Prince Learson. And dark are the days coming forth is because this is the end of the realm, thanks to Desolate the Fourth. Southward I see a swan. I mean, Desolate's children, so the line of the throne at the time, goes south, and or Eraja is the one realm that stays peaceful and does not join the war in all of Orindia, really. So there could be a tie-in either with the fact that the Desolate family flees there, or with the fact that they just remained neutral. Swans not normally known for their images as warlike birds, even though apparently swans can be kind of jerks. Not as bad as geese, but swans can be jerks. So yeah, reading it as a prophecy about the downfall of Orindia Aries. It didn't come to pass, so the real Alzara may have structured his prophecies similarly, but not in the same, I'd awaken the sound of a dropping coin, because he was a real person, not a frickin' automaton. But the rest of this sounds kind of like an Alzara vision, and this could have been a prophecy that didn't come to pass because it wasn't about the current era. It was looking forward 1 or 2 eras, depending on exactly when Ezhera was and when this was uttered. So that's how I read it, and there are many other attempts at many other interpretations, and I can't say that mine is any more or less valid than other ones that I've heard, but I find it intriguing to read it in that light and take it as that vision, because otherwise it's like, we don't know anything about the vision that got him kicked out, and what would that mean? So why bother telling us? You could have just said the real Alzara was an Arajan soothsayer in this century of the Aries court. Okay. Why do we need to know that he was kicked out for a prophecy that didn't come to pass? Unless you're going to tell us about it in an oblique manner. Oh, let's see if I remember these off the top of my head. I know this one, what do we got? Minute hand, up to the hour. This is 5 o'clock. Okay, we'll read these as part of the lore. So each of these clocks should be set to a different time. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. 5 of these clocks should be set to a time ending on the hour. Pretty straightforward there. This is a lie. Set this clock to a time containing all different numbers. This one actually ends up with 2 numbers being the same. This clock's neighbors should both be set to a time containing a 7. Okay. That'll become important in trying to interpret that one, because obviously it can't have 2 7s in it, because you can't have a 7 o'clock this early in the puzzle. But this one can be a 7. This clock should not be set to on the hour. Well, yes, it should be, so. I'm going to go ahead and set you while I'm staring at you. And you are 6 o'clock. And you are 5:57. Because none of the times can have a 1, 2, 3, or 4 in them at all. And that means you are 5:08, I think. If I remember right. Okay, so now we're up to 7 o'clock on this one. None of these clocks should be set to times that contain a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, we already talked about that. This clock should be set to a time that contains the same 3 numbers of another clock, but in reverse order. So now we're going to reverse the other one. And that means you are 8 o'clock. And we need one more on the hour. Ta-da! Another Sanctum key. So, this is a cool little puzzle. This took me a little bit of doing. I just needed to write it all down and sort through and place them in the right place on a grid to figure it out piece by piece. More or less what I showed there, except obviously a couple of things that I just sort of filled in the answer rather than having to puzzle it out again. First time I ever found the clock tower, when on my main playthrough, I had my last draftable room was right from right here over to here, so or something. It was like right up in this corner was the last door that I had to draft, and it was locked, and I had no keys. And I came down here, and from one of these 2 rooms, I drafted into this corner at the far other side of the map, drafted the clock tower for the first time, climbed it, and there was a stopwatch there, which I had also never seen a stopwatch before. And so I picked up the stopwatch, read the description, and like, oh crap, and took off running and sprinted across the house through all the twists and turns to get there, and touched the door handle with less than a second on the clock. But since I still didn't have a key, it didn't matter. Because for the stopwatch to work, you have to have a key and then open the door. It just doesn't take the key away. It doesn't let you open doors if you don't have a key. I did not understand the rules of the stopwatch at that point, but it was still fun to race across the house trying to beat the clock. So, alright, now let's go back to the dormitory. Oh hey, look, Hogwarts Legacy installed. It already was installed. Speaking of which, for the rest of this month, the game I play on other nights and maybe a couple of weekends now during the rest of June will be Hogwarts Legacy. And also, starting with the first stream I do of Hogwarts Legacy on Wednesday night of this week, I will be doing a charity stream benefiting the Trevor Project. And if you know, then you know. It's a charity that benefits LGBTQ youth, and that's why I'm running it during a Hogwarts Legacy series. And so I picked up a free copy, or a used copy rather, of Hogwarts Legacy just for this, so that I could play it. I've played through it once, all the way through, and I'm gonna redo it on stream as a different house, and see if I can complete it during stream in the month of June. But the donations, for every $5, I have a whole supply of Birdie Bots beans, and every $5 I have to eat a Birdie Bots. And so I'm putting my taste buds on the line for charity. And I need to talk to my wife about some possibility of some other rewards for higher donation tiers. We'll see. Okay. The dorm room. Or dormitory, excuse me. These small sleeping quarters, devoid of frills and distractions, are ideal for the student, scholar, or denizen of academia who wishes to focus on their studies without diversion or interruption. Study and sleep, rinse and repeat. I'm sure someone has wondered why there's an extra space after the comma after distractions in the second row. I'm assuming that comma is a typo, but when they start... When the space is a typo. I'm assuming that, when people count commas and which apostrophes are blackened out and not as visible if they're drafted at certain times of day in certain room descriptions, etc., there are probably theories for why there's an extra space there. So it's a nice little place. There's Korarika University. So the assumption is that Korarika University is where somebody went to possibly marry, as a recent person. We do know that she talks about being in her dorm room when she was in school, and that when she moves into her Mayhew life with Daniel in Reddington, she's feels like a nice big house to her after living in the dorm rooms there. So the assumption is that there's some sort of tie-in between this and Mary. Exactly what that is beyond that point, who knows? Why would there be a dorm room here if she was living abroad in Korarika? Maybe to make her feel like home, make it feel like school if she came to visit. I don't know. But now we have Drafting Strategy Volume 2. My type of room, the categorization of floor plan subtypes. As architects, we know that designing a building is a complex and multifaceted process. From the layout to the details, every decision we make can have a significant impact on the final result. Perhaps that's why we're always looking for ways to improve our craft and refine our ideas. In this edition of Drafting Strategy, we're excited to introduce a useful concept that can take your designs to the next level: room subtypes. While we've previously explored the use of colored floor plans to categorize the basic kinds of rooms, in this issue we will be examining architectural symbols that can be used to further classify and differentiate the types of rooms in your house. These symbols provide the draftsman with the visual way to indicate the purpose and function of a room, whether it's a designated workspace, a utility control room, or a conundrum. These subtype symbols can communicate the intended use of the room at a quick glance. By including these symbols on their floor plans, architects can make it easier for contractors and builders to understand their vision and bring it to life. But the benefits of floor plan categorization go beyond just clarity. By understanding and identifying subtypes, architects can craft strategies that surpass the surface-level simplistic approaches commonly used by inexperienced drafters. The Craft of the Draft. Architectural Digest's Guide to Drafting Rooms. Drafting rooms are floor plans that affect the draft pool or the drafting process. As such, they are spaces that are often designed for activities related to academic pursuits and research. Some of the common features include floor plan redrawing, draft pool manipulation, and rarity adjustments. As students of the art of drafting, aspiring architects can greatly benefit from the knowledge, experience, and learning opportunities that these rooms offer. In a class of its own, academia isn't only found in the mountains of Korarika. Classroom is a great example of the scholastic strategies that this room type has to offer. Not only does it provide synergy for other drafting rooms, but it's also a valuable source of information and knowledge. Did you know? The classrooms you'll find will fall under one of 8 different grades, ranging from first grade to the culmination of your academic journey, grade 8. However, there are rumors of an additional annex classroom at Mount Holly Elementary, used solely for exams and student testing. But finding it has been near impossible as it requires drafting more than 8 classrooms. Shifting Gears, Architectural Digest Guide to Mechanical Rooms. Far from the pristine white pages of academia, the mechanical world is a rugged industrial space, marked by the symbol of the gear and stained with the grime of heavy machinery. These floor plans prioritize function over aesthetics, and the design of each mechanical room reflects this focus on efficiency. These rooms serve as the command centers for estate operations, housing the control systems that keep everything running smoothly. Ducts, ducts, ducts! Boiler room is known as a power source because it provides steam power to various rooms in the house. Steam is conveyed room to room via ducts that run across the ceiling, and power can be transported across great distances as long as you continue to string together rooms that contain power ducts. So when you're in a room, look up! There might be a duct! Did you know drafting from a room that is steam powered will increase the likelihood of drawing rooms with ducts? Note time like the future. Architectural Digest Guide to Tomorrow Rooms. Some rooms offer long-term benefits rather than immediate resources. These floor plans, known as tomorrow rooms, are considered an investment for the future, and they offer the forward-thinking architect a number of strategies that will pay dividends down the road. Strategic planning is critical to drafting success, and knowing when to forsake the current day's progress to set yourself up for a prosperous future is a critical decision that each architect will encounter. Time freeze! Nothing better exemplifies setting yourself up for tomorrow at the expense of today than freezer. But drafters who may not want to totally abandon their current day's progress will be pleased to know there are a few clever ways to manipulate frozen assets. Entering furnace or sauna after drafting freezer will thaw any frozen gems or gold you're carrying, and you will once again be able to use them. However, if you still wish your accounts to carry over to the next day, you will have to refreeze your assets again by re-entering freezer. Warning. If furnace is drafted within a few ranks of the freezer, then the temperature will start rising and everything will melt, including your assets. If the temperature gets too high, refreezing will no longer be possible. Perplexing Plans. Architectural Digest Guide to Puzzle Rooms. Any architect who loves a challenge inevitably ends up drafting a few puzzle rooms in their house. These floor plans, marked only with a single enigmatic jigsaw piece, lack accompanying text and explanations as if to suggest that even understanding the room's function is part of the puzzle. Some puzzle rooms, like parlor and billiard room, become increasingly difficult as you solve them, evolving over time as you progress. Spreading Your Wings. Architectural Digest's Guide to Spread Rooms. The final type of room we will cover in this issue is the spread room. These floor plans enable the architect to spread out items among many rooms. When items are spread, they are only placed in the currently active rooms in the house. The number of items that are spread is determined by the number of rooms in the estate. Waiting until your house is bigger will provide larger spreads. Strategies that employ spread rooms are often centered around travel and backtracking. A word from the editor. I wanted to use this segment to thank all our readers for the wonderful mail and feedback we've received after we sent our very first issue of Drafting Strategy. It's incredibly rewarding to create something that is appreciated. It's even more rewarding to know that somewhere out there a young architect is reading our magazine and getting inspired to build something of his own that may one day in turn inspire others. When I was a child, I vividly remember the experience of reading the memoirs of the court's grand architect, Luza T. Rayland. To say it changed me is an understatement. It had a profound effect on the way I view the world and the spaces within it. We each draft our own dreams as a child, faint sketches on blurry blueprints, illegible to all, especially ourselves. And our purpose? Why, it is found hidden in the floor plans of our youth. Now, there's a lot of little tiny things that could mean something in this particular issue. This is one where I don't think this page has it, but I'm trying to think. Where's the ones that I'm thinking of? I don't know. So some of these pages don't mean a whole lot. Let's see. I do obviously the classroom mention up there is how you can find out the type of class that Kararka offers, that they are the academic area, and this is where you also might learn that there is an extra classroom needed for the grade 9 exam, for instance. I think this is the one that starts having some interesting things on it. I saw someone in the Sanctum chat in the last week or so was looking at trying to assign birds of a particular color to each of the realms, sort of like the way that Mary does in the drafts of her books. So obviously in Swimbird, you have the green, yellow, and red birds, which stand in for Nuance, Arch Aries, and Fen Aries, the three nations that essentially banded together to overthrow Orindia Aries. And in Red Prince, there's the sight of the swan in the snow, the canary, and the crow, I think. Yeah, because even in her draft, she has the sigils or the cores for the different realms. So the concept of tying birds to color to realms is built into the game. And someone was trying to come up with what would one be for Nuance outside of the green bird and Swimbird. And someone pointed out that this green duck here could be the Nuance bird. Okay, I mean, if you're trying to find birds and colors in association with realms, here's a green bird that works perfectly fine. The tip down at the bottom of this page is one that a lot of people don't realize, and even some of the late game players that I've seen play, and they just skip right past that tip, or they forgot it, I don't know, but it is a very important one when you're trying to tie your boiler room to things, is that if you are actively running power through the duct to that door, you're more likely to draw rooms that need it. So when you're trying to get that pump room connected or the laboratory connected to your steam, make sure it's coming from a powered door. And that's what you saw me do on the days when I drafted both of those things. Was I got the power running through the door and then specifically tried drafting, and that got me it pretty quickly when I was actually actively trying for it. The freezer here, let's see, was it this page, or I think the next one had the other thing I wanted to bring? Oh, one thing that some people have pointed out, and I don't see any examples of it here, but there are apparently some cases where the symbol for the tomorrow room is different, like the time that's on it. And I think one of them is like on the chronograph, and somewhere else they had seen where the symbol had a different time, or it was at a different angle or something. So something was different about that icon in some places in the game. I don't know all the places that they found it. Morning, Confusing Concoction, welcome on in. I don't know the places they found it, so I can't speak too much to it, but there are apparently a couple places where that icon is different somewhere in the game. And I want to say that the chronograph is definitely one of them. Let's see. The freezer melting, everything can melt except the chest itself with the letter in it. We do still need to read the freezer letter, I think. Let's see. The spread strategy, we already actually talked about that last time, and I touched on it earlier today about just a little bit ago about spreading coins. That when you spread into a conference room, you sacrifice some of the output for the convenience of collecting it all in one place. And I know some people, I guarantee it, have tried to anagram Grand Architect Luzati Rayland. They may have come up with something, because anytime you see a name, and especially one with that many letters to work with, someone's going to try and anagram it. I don't remember if anybody came up with anything, though. I'm pretty sure I've seen someone trying it, though, or talking about it. But the last line there as well, found hidden in the floor plans of our youth. I'm pretty sure I've seen some people trying to work with that to see if the floor plans that were around, like the ones that were only available at the beginning, for like the ones that are in the rough draft, or other things like the bunk room that tie specifically to Herbert's youth, if there might be something from looking specifically at those or doing something only with those rooms. I don't know of anything that's come of it, but it's lines like this that make people sit up and go, wait a second, this has to mean something. And they very well could be right. So, I think that's about everything to talk about here. Let's see. Concoction says, loving the Cryptic Blueprints LP. Thanks for recommending it. Yeah, I just watched their most recent one right before I started stream, actually. Let's see. What did we... Okay, we did the Alzara. I need to go downstairs and do the Sanctum, but I also want to see if I can get to the antechamber really fast before we do. A couple of dice to work with, and enough steps to handle what I still need to get done. Running low on keys, though. That is the wrong side, wrong direction. Although I'm willing to give up the antechamber today to get the Solarium. Another new room. I don't know why I'm bothered to getting a gem. We also need to go back to the dining room before we walk away. Okay, the Solarium. A quaint floral sitting room surrounded entirely by tinted glass panes. The Solarium is ideal for tea in the afternoons or getting some sun without the hassle of going outside. It's great for what in the afternoons? A tea, you say? This tea in the glass, again, one of many, many things going on in conspiracy theories. The rooms that end in "ium", so aquarium, solarium, mechanarium. There's one more. They all have letters you can find in the room, and so this is the T that's in here. The mechanarium, I want to say, is an N or an X. I don't think the aquarium has one. I honestly don't remember, but I do remember if you take all the letters that you find in those rooms and you combine it with the Eum or Arium, whatever the case may be, if you combine it just with the letters they share at the end of the word, it anagrams to ruminate. Which, come on, is like, is it an accident? Probably not. But it's really hard to say what is and isn't an accident with this game with Tonda, damn it. Planetarium, thank you. Concoction, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, planetarium. And I don't remember what the letter in that one is, but there is one. Maybe that was an E. I don't remember. Anyway, so here we have a letter. This is Bridget, and the fact that this handwriting matches the handwriting that's in the car, that's tucked under the seat inside the cab of the car. So you know that was written by the same person who wrote this, which is Bridget, which is how you know that Bridget was definitely one of the ones involved in the moonshine operation with Denny and Christoph. She was sort of one of the go-betweens, passing notes between them and helping set things up, in addition to being the bartender at the speakeasy. So, but here we have Mr. Nagula. Anne wanted me to remind you once again that it is expected of you to keep the grass in the cloister cut and the trees trimmed. I have a feeling you may have forgotten how to open the cloister wall again, so, to save you some stern words, I decided to draw you a little diagram to help you out. Who knows, maybe this time it will stick. Sympathetically, Bridget. And so the cloister grants access, while face to face with the angel, press the base of the two pillars on either side of you. I found the cloister thing by accident with my son. I was complaining that there obviously had to be a way to get in there. We were just moving around and clicking on things, and I saw either it opened all by itself or he saw like the hand appear briefly. And so if we found it by accident, and it wasn't until I don't know how long later before I finally drafted this room and got these instructions. I've seen it go both ways. I've seen people stumble into it like I did, and I've seen some people agonize over it for weeks on end before finding this note and then running to the nearest cloister and opening it up for the first time. Oh, steps, though. That's nice. Let's see. I don't think there's not really a whole lot else to talk about in here. There is, programming-wise, there's a light source literally right up there that you can kind of see that circle there. That's not the sun. That is the light source in-game positioned right above this thing to shine down on us. So, which a little giveaway there. But gamers never look up, so. Alright, let's see. You go up and fly over there. we go. Alright, that's a good find. So Nuance Solarium is done. And now we get to go do another Sanctum. And that is the last room. Okay, so passageway across, because we're gonna get our spread food. Damn it! Okay, porterhouse steak. I'm pretty sure I've already read. Yeah, give me my steak. Not that I'm hurting for steps at the moment. But more importantly, for purposes of this, we have What a Spread, the special course, Golden Sunrise Soup. A sun-warmed blend of fresh turmeric, golden ginger, and zesty garlic simmered in coconut milk and finished with a touch of lemon. Good taste pays well. Plus 5 steps and plus 5 gold, plus an additional 5 gold if you have a morning room in your house, which we do. Give me the food. And a coin purse, so we got extra gold. So that soup honestly sounded delicious. Like, all the food descriptions here just really make me want that food. All right. Let's go hit up our Sanctum. And this is from the clock tower, so we'll be doing Arch Aries this time. Sanctums and sigils. Arch Aries, right? Yep. Alright, Arch Aries still uses trains for their way to get around. And so we'll be doing the Y symbol with the rays. It's stormy, so we get the electricity zigs as our rays. There's a 5-dotted square because they are an industrial society. And the border will be inward pointing V's. Okay. Here we go. Oh, the square with the dot. That's what I meant with my notes. Okay, so we're looking for the square with the dot in the middle. There we go. Alright, we want the zappy rays. We need 3 zaps in a Y formation. And downward pointing V's. There we go. Morjai Box, the Arch Aries variation. Arch Aries was the very first realm to introduce a new color to the traditional monochromatic tiles of the box. Given the number of ship routes and trade relations between the two realms, this is not surprising. Fittingly, the variation itself was based on the brass compass manufactured in Arch Aries that were often traded to sailors in exchange for the valued Morjai puzzle boxes. When yellow tiles are pressed, they move north. Alright, let's see. This one isn't too bad. Yep. Okay, looking at Arch Aries, this one I find kind of interesting just because like, there's a couple things in here, the details, like that thing right in the middle that looks kind of like a small smokestack, or kind of like a person with no arms, a stick figure right here in the middle, standing there. Like, I want to know what that is, because it doesn't look like it's just a tree. But I don't know, it's just kind of crazy to me. Like, there's little details like that in this. But I like the fact that, this is showing, clearly, I guess it's the fact that it's got power on, showing the yellow lights in the middle of a storm, tells me, like, electricity and power and stuff, which is maybe fed by the stamp of theirs. But it tells me that this is an industrialized society. And I don't know, there's just something about this one that I like. It's just sort of, building an industrial society in a harsher environment. It's sort of man winning against, not against nature, like it's a war and destroying nature kind of way, but just winning out against the hardships of nature, I guess. So, little hut thing, which I find weird because you don't really see this in the picture, which you do in a lot of the cases when you see a picture of a house of some sort. It kind of reminds me, honestly, it's like a cross between an Ewok treehouse and the structures on Camino from Star Wars Attack of the Clones. And from this perspective, it kind of looks like a robot with I forget the names of those hats. Yeah. And I don't know, this has always struck me like it's a small musical instrument. I have a small thing that is, one of these at least, is it's just the box with the hole, and it actually has like little metal things to pring, 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 pring. So it only plays like 5 notes. This looks like it would have more, and I just find it an interesting design. So it's essentially a 20-stringed small instrument, so it would be only high-pitched notes. You couldn't get any bass out of this thing. But I mean, you might be able to get something out of it. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what something like that would sound like, and how you would tune with such small range, and how you would tune the different sides. Maybe each one in a different key, just slightly off. I don't know. I am not a musician, obviously. From Rennebaum Arch Aries, the first city of steel. We arrived here after a few days of sailing, and it made me realize how much more convenient it would have been in the old days, when the railway tracks extended all the way north. Arch Aries is a destination with which I am well acquainted, having traveled here countless times on business for Cinca. This time, however, I will avoid the familiar towns and factories, and will instead trek along the northern coast, an area with which I am wholly unfamiliar. Herbert. So this is the third stop on his tour after Eraja, and it doesn't tell you a whole lot about this, except it's telling you about the time that he traveled frequently for business for Cinca. Presumably to more than just Arch Aries, but Arch Aries would obviously be a frequently visited location as a neighboring country, an industrial country, so possibly this is where some of the factories were that produced a lot of Cinca products, or they were just producing goods to sell to some of these factories. Lots of possibilities, but either way, there is definitely a strong trade relation between Fen and Arch Aries, and since Arch Aries came to and joined the fight on Leerson's side, so on the side of Fen during the war, they have a nice relation with him overall, as opposed to Eraja. So the fact that they still have good trade relations is obvious from that, although the fact that Fen destroyed their railroads probably has hindered their trade with Arch Aries as much as it has with Eraja or anywhere else. Let's see. I want to go head up the tunnel because we have a key, and I forget what the if the second door in the tunnel is a security lock or the basement key, if it's security, then we'll take care of that now. If it's basement, then we're stuck until a future day. But either way, I've got an extra key now, so I might as well go use it. So this crate's still here. I don't know if they count that as a crate or not. And that one's still there. That was the last one. Okay, so security or basement first? Basement. Okay. All right, we'll come back to that on a future day. I don't know of anything beneficial to spend the night in any particular one of these rooms that I have. So, just gonna call it a day. All right, we did that one. Let's do another day. Ah, blast it. I didn't read the description on the shrine. All right, trading post would be great. Or let's do a schoolhouse. We have extra keys today. We can try for a school run. Let's try for a school run. It was dig spot out here, and that's it. Okay. We'll give it a try. I was gonna wait until I had like a king power or something, but I've done it without that. And we also do need to be on the lookout for the ability to change our chess power. I'm not gonna say no to a library here. All right, we are ready now to request either one of the books we got from the library. So I think we're ready to. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and do. We'll start just at the top. We'll go History of Orindia, First Edition. We talked about grade 6 yet. I think we only made it up to 5. Because I don't remember talking about the pictures. Or did we? Crud, I don't remember it anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we only made it up to 5. Okay, so this is our first visit to classroom grade 6. Description hasn't changed any, but the blue tent for this one is that the third king of Orindia was the last in the line of Aries. This one right there started one of the more in-depth theories and historical dives that I did on this game. The fact that you go Aries, something else was what really led me to start picking apart the timeline, and was where I first started getting into, how the existence of House Aries in between Oris's line and up into Distillery. There's still some websites out there with, I think the wiki, the fandom wiki for Blueprints still seems to say that the succession line went from Aries to Distillery. Like, it completely skips the existence of House Aries. And they're trying to fit the last king of 8 thing, and they're like, well, then it clearly went from Aries, Distillery. No. And so, but that one saying that the last king was like, well, who took it over then? And when wasn't until I was doing the Blackbridge deep dive that I really got into where does this come from? What is next? Where do the families fit into this whole thing? And so that's what led me to believe, and as far as I can tell, that this is established fact at this point, that you have 3 kings of Aries, and then multiple kings of Aries, and my contention is that there are 8. And then the 8th king of Aries, so that's the last king of 8 that is referred to in the underground area. And then from 8, after 8 kings of Aries, then it moved to the Desolate line. And I contend that the Desolates did not peacefully get power transferred from House Aries, and that they did not properly complete the coronation ceremony, and that the realm was on a downhill slope ever since the Desolates took over from House Aries, culminating with Desolate the Fourth completely ruining things. And then also, I think that Learson was part of House Aries, was a descendant of someone in House Aries, and that was his claim to the throne. But all right, slides, because these are actually kind of fun. So the fact that they're already wearing red here is one thing that I find telling in that favor, is that it's not Fen Aries yet, it's not anything yet, but they're already decked out in red. Now this could be an artistic representation, not a photograph. It's sort of unclear what they expect us to take from that particular aspect. Is this actually supposed to be a photograph taken of the war, or is this just an artistic rendering after the fact, which is why you have a nice, neat division of all the blacks on this side and all the reds on this side, perfectly centered conflict between the two in the foreground, etc., etc. But we're also in an animated style presentation, so we can't say, well, this is a drawing. Well, so is Simon. So is everything in this world that we see. It's all in the hand-drawn art style. So we can't really say for sure if this is expected to be a photograph or an artistic representation. It could be either. I'm inclined to say that these are supposed to be photographs, but honestly, it could be either one. If it's photograph, then it's convenient that they're already all wearing red, when the color for the realm of Fen Aries was selected in honor of the blood of the fallen, but they're already wearing red. The possibility that still comes there, though, is that we talked about when we looked at the moon pendant, is that the color red was used in Orindia Aries. It was the sort of the secondary color right after black. The throne room is predominantly black, but has red carpet runner. Had the soldiers, the knights of armor that are in there, all have the red shields, except the one guy has no shield. So that the ruby that's in the moon pendant, and the pendant has the 3 lines on it that seem indicative of Orindia with the shield that we've talked about multiple times. So red was, and of course, the ruby crown of Orindia Aries. Red was very much a color in use, despite the realm color officially being black. So using that alternate color as their uniforms and their choice of color when they're fighting to take back their realm, etc., not a bad choice of color. So that makes perfect sense if they chose it already. And then afterwards, Teskin's like, blood of the fallen, we're sticking with red this time. Forget the black. We need another color. So, there's no way to know for sure whether this is a photograph or artistic rendering. Some of the rest of these might shed some light on that. We'll see. This looks more like could have been a photograph, but again, could also be a rendering. I mean, it certainly is showing the cost of the war. Not sure if that is supposed to be specifically Prince Learson or just, the Unknown Soldier Fen edition. Who knows? But I think it's hard to tell. It could be up on, if there's some sort of design up on that flag specifically, if there's something there, and unfortunately without the free roam mod, I can't zoom up there and take a look. It could also just be sort of a trick of the lighting and the picture itself. Really hard to say. This picture right here, this picture irritated me as much as it excited me once I really dove in on this one. Because when I was making my Blackbridge theory and my I think it was in the Blackbridge specifically, but it also may have been in history, I forget. I had a theory that when Teskin and others were being coronated, they may have used the same trappings of the ceremony that Simon did. I didn't have any proof of that, because the picture that I have of this on my computer originally was really bad quality, because it's what I can see here just shrunk down onto my OBS image and what I can see there, and then a screen capture of that saved as a JPEG. So I had a really crappy resolution of this. I could not see the fact that Teskin is quite clearly carrying a cursed effigy in there, or an idol that looks a hell of a lot like it, at least. And so this confirmed the theories that I was taking on. I think this is what happened to... I was right. This is exactly what was happening, and this picture pretty much proves it. So this is, again, ostensibly a picture of Teskin undergoing the coronation the coronation ceremony for the realm. He is taking a lot more than 13 steps to get from down there to over here. He is carrying what looks to be a similar, or this exact same, sort of hard to tell, scepter, specifically saved with the red colors of Fen on it. Could be some differences. I don't have a picture of the Fen scepter in front of me to compare against, though. I think there's some slight differences in where you see like the Fen symbol on our version of the scepter, at least. And the crown he's wearing, though, very specifically, not the ruby crown of Orindia Aries. So, when I was going through the Blackbridge, and this is all explained in much greater detail there in the Blackbridge lore video, if Teskin is undergoing, well, for us, 1 step per room is a game mechanic, but Jesper certainly, in the Curse of Blackbridge story, Jesper certainly wasn't counting rooms. He was counting individual steps before he would die. And that's what the liveried old man told him, was 13 steps, and then not 13 rooms. So the step seems to be just an in-game mechanic for our benefit, but in-world it sure seems like they treated it a little bit more literally. So he's not using the crown of Orindia Aries. The scepter, the actual scepter that was in use before, is buried here at Mount Holly, and has been since the time of House Aries, which was like 2 or 3 eras ago. House Aries was in charge in the 2nd and 3rd eras. This is the beginning of the 6th era, when this is what is representing. The scepter has been buried under Orindia Castle on the site of Mount Holly in a chest only unlocked by a key bearing the crest of House Aries. Zero mention of Distillery anywhere in any sort of ascension ceremony information. So the scepter has been locked up there for, I think, since the fall of House Aries. The effigy, and this is again the theory that I came up with while doing the Blackbridge video, there's no way of knowing or any indication of how the effigy went from being buried with a bunch of bandits in a cave, buried alive, to being carried by a future king down the hallway during his ascension ceremony. There's also no indication of how it got, if this is the real effigy, how it got from there into our backyard, buried in our shrine. And if that was the real scepter, then there's no question of how did we get the real scepter? If that's the real one, how did it get back to Mount Holly and get buried again, or it put in a chest in our secret treasure trove outside? So what I would contend is that he's not wearing the real crown. He's not carrying the real scepter. There's no reason to suspect that he's actually carrying the real effigy. And so the theory that I worked out in the Blackbridge video is that I think that the transfer of power, as I said, from Aries to Distillery was not peaceful, and either came abruptly or through more violent means, or hostile takeover, whatever the case may be, but it was not a nice peaceful transfer of power. And I think the effigy dates back all the way to Oris. And my theory, at least, and this there's no specific data to back this part up, but I think the effigy was originally a boon to whoever held it and carried it. And I think that Oris used it, and that was the reason why he was so prosperous. And it's basically sort of if you make the sacrifice, if you accede to the terms of use, the terms of service for this effigy, your bloodline and your family and your whatever will prosper. If you violate those terms, and so I would say that Oris was a very prosperous merchant in Alzara, and used the wealth and the power that he accumulated to start crafting the realm of Orindia. He then passes the effigy on to his children, and for the first 3 kings at least, everything goes smoothly, but either the intended 4th king failed the terms of service and died, or the 3rd king screwed things up and things ended with him. And so the secret of how to do the ceremony was passed on to House Aries as they took charge in a nice peaceful transfer of power. And then that first king of House Aries, when he was done, split the realm up into 3. The ceremony for Orinda Aries has always stayed the same, because you're using a crown for Orinda Aries, and the scepter dates back to Alzara. So the scepter itself has been around since first era of the realm. The crown dates back probably around the same time. There's no good reason to add a murderous effigy to your coronation ceremony. Like, if it's gonna kill you, there's no good reason to add that and make it a part of things if it wasn't already a requirement handed down through the ages. And so either the two reasons and outcomes I can see that why that's a good thing is either it's something you do to prove that you are the rightful ruler and that you have the courage to face death as you take the throne, etc., and completing the ceremony makes you immune to the actual death part of the curse, and there's nothing else that happens, that just you don't die, yay, you're the king now. Or successfully completing the ceremony passes that boon on, and the good wealth and fortune that comes from having the effigy on your side, if you will. And for House Aries, the realm prospered under House Aries. That was the time when they're making railroads, and the 3 realms, when it was split up, are cooperating with each other and prospering. There's trade, there's all sorts of stuff. The realms were going great under House Aries. Fast forward a few generations, maybe somebody screwed something up. And last king of 8 mucked up the rules of the effigy, or his son did, again, who knows. But House Distillery takes over, and the fact that they hid the scepter in a chest marked for House Aries means I think they were hiding it from House Distillery, because Distilleries were taking over. And so they hid the scepter. The Distilleries then come up with a fake scepter. They use the real crown, but they don't know what to do with the effigy, because they were never told. And so they make a fake effigy, but they have the real one on hand just in case they figure out how to use it properly, if they ever figured out how to do the ceremony. Destiny the First, realm starts going down. Destiny the Second, realm gets a little bit worse. And if you read the description of what was going on in the realms in Blackbridge, there's famine, and there's turmoil and war and all sorts of other bad things that have been happening for the last few generations. The realm was going downhill in the 4th era when the Destilleries were in charge. And I think it's because they didn't have the proper use of the effigy, so they didn't have the bonus from that. So the realm and they were lesser kings, and things just sort of kept going downhill. I think the story of Blackbridge takes place during the reign of Destiny III, specifically when he's moving his capital from Reddington to Oris, because the effigy is in a royal carriage being carried by a trusted person, possibly even a member of the royal family, like an uncle or something, and it's being sent separately from everything else. The Blackguard know it's there because the Blackguard only show up on the Black Bridge when somebody important's about to cross and something important's going to happen. Here comes the effigy on that same day, in its own secret little carriage being transported separately. Why do you transport it separately? Because that's not the real one. The effigy is part of the ceremony. People know about it. Well, you don't have to hide that. It's part of the royal treasury and everything else that goes with being the king and having your throne. So sending all that stuff south, the effigy, the real one, is being sent separately for whatever reason, maybe because they just don't want it being acknowledged as part of the treasury, because here is there's the box that carries the effigy. Why do you have two of those? Reasons. No. So the real one's being sent separately, and that's where Jesper interrupts it. And then he gets it, and it's buried with him. The fake effigy is still part of the treasury. So the fake effigy makes its way into Teskin's hands. So if Teskin is just calmly walking down the hallway carrying something that's not going to do him any harm, but he doesn't know any different. Why would he? He's not a member of the royal family. He's a general. He's not a member of the nobility, possibly even. So there's no reason he would have any reason to suspect that that's not the real thing. He's already using a different crown and a different scepter, clearly. Why not a different effigy too? So I think the realm has suffered even more because they don't know how to properly reclaim the prosperity that comes with completing the terms of service of the effigy. That's my theory, and again, I go into it in a lot more detail in the Curse of the Black Bridge video, so if you're curious, go check it out. But yeah. And some of that I came up with while I was recording the video. More stuff was occurring to me. I'm like, wait a second. Okay, this makes an awful lot of sense if you look at it this way and do this and count this, and that fits this, which means this, which, holy crap. As I was putting it together, like, a whole bunch of stuff just sort of clicked. And I can't say for certainty that it's factual, and short of Tonda himself coming out and saying, he got it, which would be great, Tonda, please. But short of that, I'm pretty darn sure that I'm close to the truth on that. Let's see. In my head, the story is just a myth with Jesper dying in an arrow for storytelling purposes, and the real object has the properties given by Simon, 13 rooms, you fall asleep. Also possible, but I also think that the effigy was what, one way or another, was responsible for our grandfather Simon dying. And I've sort of touched on that a little bit in this series, and talk about it more in that same video, so. Okay, so railroad's getting busted up. Not really a whole lot to say here, but this is showing you their destruction. I am surprised the number of people I've seen get here and look at this and go, oh, look, they're building the railroads. This must be when they were building the railroads. Like, no, they're pretty clearly destroying the frickin' railroads. And that's made very clear. And then this is where that picture of the Colossus Orindia comes from. So you can see the stripes on the shield that seem to potentially coincide with the stripes on the Sinclair crest and the moon pendant. And then, of course, you see the Nuance airship up there. One of the ways you know that that's how that could be their method of travel for completing their sigil. I think that's the last one. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that is Classroom 6. Alright, library again. Okay, History of Orindia. We're in for a big read here. Books. History. So, specifically, where's the card for it? In the original version of the book, A History of Orindia, that we skipped over to get to this one, it is, there's a big red stamp on it. It says, this book was reviewed and cleared for publication by the Aries Central Board of Education. It has been edited to conform to our department's standards, including the omission of section deemed inaccurate or unsuitable for public dissemination. So the redacted copy of this, obviously, if you've seen it, has blackout marks all over the friggin' place, making some of the omissions make it read kind of funny, actually. The original version was checked out in 1981 by Herbert, so it was 2 years after it was published. In 1984 by Mary Jones, and that was not too long before she started working on Swimbird as her first book, or Red Prince, excuse me. But then in 1987, March 2nd, 1987, so days after she disappeared, the second edition version was checked out by Detective Bon Margle. So that the Red Guard showed up on March 1st, and the next day, so presumably he requested it March 1st and then got it on March 2nd. The next day, Bon Margle checked it out and got the redacted copy. And in that copy, he leaves a note to Baron Sinclair. Baron Sinclair, thank you so much for your cooperation with our department and this investigation. We know our presence is never convenient, especially for someone of your social status, but it means so much all the more that you are not only tolerant, but also willing to aid our efforts in getting this business done as quickly as possible. We are returning, with this letter, the book you lent us, though I must confess it was not as much help as I had hoped. I had heard that your library of rare and restricted books was quite extensive, and I was told by a reliable source that if a first edition and uncensored copy of the history of Orindia could be found, it would likely be found within the Baron's own collection. But perhaps I was misinformed. Still, part of me thinks that you may have given me the censored copy as a jest, a taste, if you will, for the bureaucrat of their own medicine. If that is the case, then I say, well done, fair play, and perhaps on my next visit we'll have a laugh about this, after you have given me the actual manuscript. Until then, Detective Bon Margle, Red Guard. So, I find that note vaguely threatening. We'll laugh about it after you give me the real one. But still, he has to show deference and cordialness? Whatever. He still has to be nice to him because he's a baron. And Bon Margle is most certainly probably not a member of the nobility. So they are on hand right after Mary disappears, looking for clues, possibly, just checking to see if she just happens to be here. But the fact that they check out the history of Orindia specifically leads to believe that they knew something of Mary's political ties, and were doing a bit of a fishing expedition while they were here looking for her. That's what that says to me, at least. And the redactions that are in this book, like I said, are kind of funny at times. They basically, any sort of positive mention of the Old Realm, or specifically the Desolés, is probably blacked out beyond what's necessary to, just get the story across. After Bon Margle's first checkout in March, the fact that he checks it out on September 3rd, again, right after the Crown heist, he's here on Manor grounds again, looking for something. Again, tells me that the Fen government knows something about Mary's involvement. And they may not believe her disappearance is all, that it was presented as, that, she's just gone, we don't know where she is, we have no evidence, we have nothing. The fact that they came here, right after the heist, means they know that she was involved. Which, again, Daniel's letter to Herbert saying, how dare you, I'm angry with the fact that you're basically backing the official government line on what happened. Combine that with, there's some mention somewhere, I forget exactly where off the top of my head, but it's listed as an embarrassment to the Fen government. Which, again, one of its own nobles taking part in the theft of the crown and recognizing she is a family member of the Baron of this area, of one of our most prominent cities. That's a problem if that gets out. That is a subject of embarrassment for the government. So I think the Fen government knew Mary was involved, because otherwise there's no reason for them to come directly to Mount Holly the very next day as soon as they possibly can to get here. So, because the crown was stolen on September 2nd at 1:30 in the morning, very next day, Bonmar was here. And he could have been here that day if he's following the checkout rules, which isn't necessarily true, because at some point in here, Bonmargle checks out 2 books on the same day, which already is against the rules. So he may have had a same day checkout as a special visitor. But either way, he was on the grounds right away. That tells me that they knew. So, and then the only that was the last checkout until our young Simon P. Jones starts checking out the book. I don't know that it's really worth looking at the redactions and going over them. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of it is redacted, especially into the closer you get to the modern era. The 4th era has the most redactions, because that one deals specifically with Desolé, and they want to make sure that Desolé looks as bad as possible in these. I don't think that Caleb is really presenting Desolé as all that in a bag of chips anyway. So, he's not trying to sing his praises at all. In fact, I would say that he's sort of subtly pointing out that Desolé the 4th really wasn't all that great. Or Desolé the 3rd, excuse me. Desolé the 4th, I think everybody agrees he was a piece of crap. But Desolé the 3rd, I think Caleb is sort of indicating he wasn't really all that great either. But maybe that's just me interpreting, I don't know. So anyway, we'll just go ahead and go through this version as is. I will present on screen for YouTube at least the differences between the 2 pages as we go. And I'll talk about anything specific that jumps out at me. Forward. Orindia was once the name used to designate the realms of the eastern waters. Though the term is no longer employed in the halls of politics, nor commonly known to the average citizen, its memory flickers in the hearts of those who hail from the lands that it once encompassed, and many of the elder generation, in hushed circles, still refer to themselves as Orindians. Yet we must not let the flame of our history dwindle into the obscurity of whispered conversations, nor permit our leaders to enjoin us to abandon the name of our land. We must keep alive the embers of our past and preserve them for generations to come. Move this out of the way. First Era, Azera. Most historians mark the beginning of the First Era, often denoted as Azera, by the ascension of the first king of Orindia, whose name, Oris, would later grace the burgeoning township in which he was crowned. Oris was known, before his coronation, as a prominent merchant lord, of considerable means and affluence, whose sway in the region made him the ideal candidate for the unification of the surrounding provinces. Regrettably, history is not always forthcoming, and the surviving records of those bygone days are mostly limited to trade agreements and sales receipts. Nevertheless, we can deduce from these ledgers that Oris had but one aim: expansion. The territory spread forth from the heart of Oris, and by the end of the 1st century, the black banners of Orindia could be seen fluttering in every hamlet and hostelry, along every thoroughfare from Oris all the way to the western banks. A new kingdom was born. And that castle looks awfully familiar from the underground. Second Era. It was the 4th king of Orindia who split this vast domain in 3 equal shares. 3 realms for his 3 children. To the and this is again, I think, the first king of House Aries, the one that does the splitting. To the eldest, he granted the fields and the mountains of his great-grandfather, the middle province and the heartspring of the kingdom. The eldest accepted the gift and called his new realm Orinda Aries, after the angelic paragon of royalty, Orinda. I kind of think that maybe there was some marriage between House Oris and House Aries at this point, because he's talking about the mountains of his great-grandfather, the middle province, so he's talking about potentially why was this family chosen? Maybe back in the line was Oris, but I also think that House Aries specifically came from Eraja, and hence the later paragraph here. To the young, or he called the new realm Orinda Aries after the angelic paragon of royalty, Orinda. To the youngest he bestowed upon him the realm of Arch Aries, the land of the northern storms, a wild and untamed expanse which at the time was not as developed, but a good deal more vast than the eldest brother's lot. And to his middle child, the only daughter, he gifted her the southern region of Eraja, the mystical realm of the ancestors, a land steeped in tradition, magic, and the poetry of the old tongue. So again, I think that House Aries was originally hailed from Eraja, and they are the ancestors specifically of the family, not of all the people of Orindia in general. Third Era. As the Second Era drew to a close, the three sovereign realms had achieved a period of remarkable progress and prosperity. Each of these distinct regions, ruled by their respective sibling monarchs, had blossomed, cultivating the bountiful resources of their lands and developing a unique character and culture that set them apart from one another. Despite these differences, the sibling monarchs managed to maintain friendly relations throughout their lives, and were known for their cooperation in matters of trade and transportation. The succeeding generations of their heirs continued that tradition, and the Third Era was defined by the construction of a vast network of railways that spanned the length and breadth of the land, linking the northern mountains of Arch Aries to the southern shores of Eraja. This development facilitated travel and commerce between the three realms, further strengthening their bond and laying the foundation for the promise of a prosperous and bright future, a promise that would, unfortunately, as my readers will soon find, not be kept. Fourth Era. Dark of the days coming forth. As the kingdom of Orinda Aries entered the Fourth Era, a different kind of ruler took the reins of power. And this is again where I think the decline starts. King Desolate III was a king who listened to the voices of all his subjects, from the most influential advisors to the humblest of citizens. He was a king who was often seen among the people eating, drinking, and conversing, a sight that shocked not only the gentry and the court, but the masses as well, who could scarce believe that they, as peasantry, would ever sup with the crown. Desolate was renowned as the king of the people, and it was therefore a surprise to no one when he made the decision to move the capital from the secluded mountains of Reddington to the public stage of Oris, leaving castle and court behind. The people were overjoyed by this choice, and the city welcomed their king with open arms and great fanfare. Yet not all were so easily swayed. There were those who viewed the king's conduct to be unbecoming of his station, and were wary of how readily he could be persuaded by the tears and tales of the common folk. These dissenting voices planted the seeds of discontent, which took root in the lawns and gardens of the nobles of Fen, or as I have been instructed to say, the grand city of Fen. So his description there, this is a king seen among the people eating and drinking, and people was like, oh, we get to hang out with the king. It's not painting a very good picture of Desolate. He's not saying this was a good choice, or Desolate was a wise ruler who listened to everybody. They're saying he could be swayed by the tears of the commoners. Like, all you had to do was come in and tell him a sob story. It's like, oh, that sounds terrible. Here, let me give you what you need. Is the picture that I feel that Caleb is painting here. And again, I think that move from Oris to, from Reddington to Oris, rather, that was where the theft took place in the Curse of Blackbridge. The Era of Ruin. This is again Desolate IV, Dark of the Days coming forth. After the passing of King Desolate III, the Fourth Era came to an abrupt end. Thankfully, the king died naturally in his old age and surrounded by his people in Oris, far away from the growing unrest among the western city of Fen. On the very next day, the 6th of October, the self-proclaimed Prince Learson of Fen declared himself the true monarch. This declaration was bolstered by a surprising number of supporters due to the fact that Desolate IV shared his father's good name, but little of his virtues. As the prospect of civil war seemed inevitable, the realm's regiments were hastily recalled from the frontiers to stamp out and put an end to the Fensurrection. However, instead of restoring order, what ensued was a savage and merciless campaign against their own people. The gardens of Fen, once a center of splendor, were transformed into a battlefield as the cries of the innocent echoed through the city streets, stained in red. Again, as I said before, I think Prince Learson was a scion of House Aries, and was making his claim for the throne to reclaim it from House Desolé. And I will say, this page does contain one of the best of the edits, because as the kingdom entered the Fourth Era, a different kind of ruler took the reins of power. King Desolé III was a king who was often seen drinking, a sight that shocked not only the gentry and the court, but the masses as well, from the Fourth Era. And then this one starts off, after the passing of King Desolé III, the Fourth Era came to an abrupt end. Thankfully, the king died. That's it. That's one of my favorite edits in this book. But after that, there's very few edits, because the rest of this era chapter is all talking about just how bad things were, and Learson and Fen taking over. So no need to redact that. The brutality of the pacification of Fen did not go unnoticed by neighbors. As sympathy for the city surged, allies came forward to lend support. Among them was the general of the Northern Regiment, who, sickened by the barbaric actions of the other battalions, joined forces with Prince Learson to form a formidable army, rogue like the moon of the north. Together, they leveraged their political influence and favors to persuade the nearby realm of Arch Aries and Nuance to join their cause. Nuance were airships carried by westerly winds. However, even with the tide turning in their favor, victory did not come easy. The War of the Fifth Era lasted 22 long years, and saw buried 1 in every 3 men. Prince Learson himself added another number to the casualties. However, even in death, he had won. Oris had fallen, and with it the realm. The black flags that had flown for 5 eras were burned, and in their place red banners were hoisted in honor of the fallen of Fen. The few remaining members of the former royal family fled in fear for their lives to the south, forever exiled. The current era. Today, the realms inherited by the 3, Fen Aries, Arch Aries, and Araja, once again stand united as allies. Though the distance between our peoples has grown, our connection to this land remains as strong as ever. The spruce and birch that span across our realms serve as a constant reminder that we all share a common past. And as those trees continue to grow, so do our hopes for a common future. A future where we are not defined by the colors of the banners we raise, but by that which connects us. A land that we each call home. For this is, despite everything else, a land rich in history. A land of myth and wonder. A land that sprung forth the greatest empire the world has ever seen. The land of our fathers, of our mothers, and of our children. This land is, after all that has happened, still Orindia. I mentioned during the classroom, when we did classroom days, that the Caleb in the grade 1 classroom colored the other realm flags red, and that's the only thing he colored red besides the things that are supposed to be red on the page. And I think that may have been Caleb Manning, already aware of Fen's not usurping control, but basically, yeah, they were usurping control. The fact that they took over from Orindia and then maybe exerting pressure on other realms, that they are an autocratic realm, etc. He's not coloring those realm flags in as a good thing. It's the teacher that wrote red as his favorite color at the bottom in her handwriting and her ink and said, "Oh, you must really like red, because look at all this red you put on the page." No, I think that was Caleb already showing he didn't like red. The book was published in 1979, which is, coincidentally enough, also the year that Simon was born. Our Simon. And so the timeline of Caleb becoming a published author to him becoming Mary's mentor and her publishing political tinged children's books, it has been the subject of a lot of debate. there's one other thing that I wanted to point out. This first one that we have says Alzara to Eraja, which probably and presumably just means from the first era to the last era, which is the literal translation of Eraja as the era, the last one, Alzara, the first one. So not referring to the realm of Eraja. Kind of curious why that's the realm's name. Could be it's the farthest south, the closest to the southern key and the death that it's associated with. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to tell a whole lot about what the realm names might symbolize, especially since we don't, not all of them seem to be in a foreign language. Nuance. I don't know. I don't think there was anything else to really talk about on that one. The fact the trees that are mentioned, the spruce and the birch, I think if I remember right, I forget about the spruce, if that's what the trees outside are, but I know birch, those are the white trees outside where the conservatory is buried, for instance. Those are birch trees. Alright, where's our books? History of Orindia. There we go. There's one. 5 more of those to go. And we talked about it, like keeping that one separate, so the original library books are checked off. And we talked about we did drafting strategy 2. Okay. Oh, and I did the soup. I forgot to mark off the soup. Alright, here we go. See what else never mind. Last room. Alright, if I make it back down to the conservatory, then I'm changing that back to its default rarity, if it will let me. Alright, room directory, drafting studio. Yes. Hey, it worked this time. Okay, cool. Last time I tried to do that in a different game series, it would not do it. And it was kind of annoying because I had it set to common and then it just kept showing up and clogging up my draft pool with a 2-gem useless straightaway room. Alright, here we go. Oh, lovely. Let's get some gems. Someone had asked me about looking for the Mount Holly logo that sometimes appears in the wood grains in the fireplace. I've seen it. I haven't been able to find any reason why it shows up, like drafting from a particular direction or time of day or whatever, so I don't know if there's anything particular there beyond it just being a random wood grain that shows up. Gems are in a box with a false statement. Only one statement is true. Only one statement is false. Okay. Well, if you're true, then you're false, which means 2 things are false, which means you're false, which means the gems are in a box with a true statement, which means they would be in there. If you're false, then that would mean the other 2 both have to be true. Only one statement is false, that would be true. And the statements are in a box with a false. So either way, they're in white. I do like it when it works out that way. Alright, it's got a gem. Big trunk. Excellent. And yes, but only because I have dice and I can get out of this corner safely. That'll do. Will do. No dice necessary. Oh. Experiment. Like, I don't need the computer. I don't have a utility room yet. We may not make it past 50% at this rate tonight, which is kind of annoying. Trash digging. What do we got? That'll pretty much guarantee we'll finish off the letters. It would not be what I pick on a real run, but since we're doing lore, that's what we're going with. I still need utility before I actually change the security doors around. Let's see if we can get something useful. Something useful here. That's fine. Get my gem back. And lots more steps to work with. I'm going to need them. Yes, I actually want pool and billiard room. Ah, 422 734 2210 12 11 1 1 4 8 4 2. Not what I wanted. But a good place to use it. Enjoy your lunch. Oh, crap, that was code check, wasn't I? Just passed it. Damn it. Alright, well, that's another thing I wanted to get anyway for the secret garden. Fine. And there's my utility closet. Yes, thank you, game. That counts as trash? Cool. Welcome in, Jano Riss. Is that, correct me if I'm mispronouncing that, please. This is my own checklist. It is based on a completion race that I ran last November against a friend of mine. We did a charity stream across a weekend for a full completion. I started from that, again, I made for that, but I started from that and added on the things that we had left off for a full completion run to when I did this. I don't think this tool I have it available. I think this is one of the few things that I may not have posted out on my Google Drive. I might have a version of the original race file out there, though. All right, we need to be able to turn right. Fine with me. And I need to go back and hit up security really fast. Yeah, it has everything actually known in the game included. So it doesn't include like random theories about things, but just things that actually definitely take place in the game. Up that includes everything that's known currently. So, appreciate the follow. Thank you. All right, here we go. Now I could do the casino. Let's do the casino. Oh, we're gold. Okay. The casino. The Mount Holly Casino offers an intimate and exciting setting for wagers of any scale, and guests may be surprised to discover how much strategy is involved in these machines, which are traditionally only thought of as games of chance. A buy-in of 2 gems is required for admittance into this exclusive room. The casino can be fun, like if you already have gems on hand and can afford to come in here, and obviously the gold gets expensive. I've seen people spend hours on this thing. I did not watch the whole time, but I was lurking the whole time and confirmed they spent hours on this slot machine. I don't have that kind of patience. So, but since we have 100 coins and nothing else to spend it on at the moment, although 2 more coins and we could buy Swimbird. Damn. Is it possible I'm going to get 2 more coins? Maybe in this last room to draft. What are the chances I can get a throne room there? I would really like a throne room, since I can't afford an office. Or I could freeze. Carry a lot of money into tomorrow. Code check. Code check. I need a code check. Okay. Thank God my brain kicked in for a second there. All right. Let's go ahead and just gamble. Nope, red. Between the two, that actually would have been really nice to get. Alright, so now we need to backtrack. We need to do some digging as where we can find it to get more trash. But we're specifically making it all the way back out to the workshop to make the burning glass, to then come back up here and put in the coat check. And we need to make a trip outside. And we need to stop at the dining room. That's definitely on our way. Anything spread in here? Metal detector should pick up anything important. Okay, here we go. Where's our meals? Already did the stuffed quail. Special course, the Fruit Cocktail, a refreshing blend of tropical Morajai melons, mangoes, oranges, bananas, and local-grown orchard apples, served chilled in a tall Sauternus wine glass. Plus 5 steps with 2 fruit, plus an additional 2 fruit if you have a wine cellar, which we don't today. I think that was the first place I remember seeing a mention of Morajai melons. I missed the mention that is in the Secret Garden description. I think the first place that I remember seeing that was that right there. Oh, the key on the pie. That's what's setting it off. Special course, key lime pie. Unlock doors as well as your taste buds with a slice of this classic custard dessert featuring a tangy lime filling, graham cracker crust, and the real key, a perfect dollop of whipped cream. Plus 5 steps, plus 1 key, plus an additional key if you have a locksmith, which again we don't. I freaking love key lime pie. A good key lime pie is so good. Like just the right amount of tang, everything. I love key lime pie. Alright, so we've had the key lime pie and the fruit cocktail. So we just need to, on another day, because it's sure as hell not happening today, we need to spread dirt and the patio, which I didn't even... We didn't have the dining room yet, and I think you have to have the dining room before you spread the thing. I don't know for certain, and I don't want to risk it. So I don't regret not drafting the patio earlier, but I do kind of regret not knowing for sure. Okay, what is pinging here? The key's gone for the key lime pie. Oh, missed a key there. Okay, so now billiard to chapel and all the way out. And then up to the workshop through all the dig spots.
Yay, more trash. You got an apple. You have 2 apples. I like the keys, but may stop off in the locksmith on the locker room. That's the word I was looking for. So look at all the fruit we're getting. This is more than you would get from a straight up from the conference room. More trash. Excellent. Game's like, dude, you really need to make more stuff in your workshop. Here's how to do it since you apparently don't know how. More steps, just what I need. Alright, that is how many? 8 more letters, that's probably enough to have them all now. So next time we get mailroom, we could probably have a chance to read through all the rest of the letters. And we need to go this way. But what's one more?
Alright, so we are definitely making burning glass. And there's nowhere else we can go. I still have some mild hopes for finding a battery in the locker room. I've done it before, and the game loves doing it when I can't use it and taunting me, so I'm hoping this time it will give it to me when I can. Alright, so I did not, unfortunately, find a king chess piece, so I cannot reset my power just yet. And there's our next step, is bash, bash, bash. Alright, so future days, I gotta start thinking of, I'm gonna need to make the power sledge. I'm gonna need to hang on to my burning glass for a couple of days. I'm definitely gonna need burning glass when next time I draft the trading post, which hopefully will be tomorrow. You never know. Yeah, sadly, there's no way I can finagle a battery out of any of this. I'm 99.9% certain you can't dig up a battery in the root cellar. Well, I can't dig up a battery anywhere, but, you know, that's where I have to dig left. If you're gonna give me something, give me more trash, just to really drive home how many letters we're getting here. Or more keys, you know. Okay. Cannot think of anything else I can possibly do here. I call it a day. All right, I'm going to do one more day fast and see if I can get a couple of things done here. We're going to be checking, hopefully checking things off. Here we go. Okay. Looking for some specific things here, like that. All right, let's go outside and do stuff. Didn't even have to re-roll. Thank you, game. All right. Lots of money to work with. And that's what I really, really, really want out of this place. Christoph, here's the rest of your share. 40 gold for the moonshine shipment we made last week. This may be the last batch for quite some time, as I feel it's no longer worth the risk, especially given Anne's continually increasing suspicion. But I do need you to ask us another small favor of you. Next week, when you take the Baron to town, if you could fabricate some excuse to delay your return by an hour or two, I would be much beholden to you. Denny. Now, since I've already opened safety deposit box 53, there is water here. That is the trigger that makes water appear here. If you have not opened that box yet, that will be a dry still. That one really irritated me before I learned that's what the trigger was, because I was trying to do a completion race on my own just for fun and could not get the damn thing to trigger because I didn't know what did it. The timeline for that letter specifically, we know that Denny went down and finally opened the north lever in, let's see, what was it? August? So in August of 1991, Denny discovered the north lever and made his plans, but he didn't do it right away. And that was on August the 4th, I believe, was when he instructed, was when he was talking about it and found it. Yeah, that's when he discovered it. So sometime between August the 4th and the 15th is when Denny left that letter for Christoph to delay the Baron in town so that he would have more time to break into room 46 unobserved. That was also likely one of the last batches of moonshine created because of Anne Babbage being suspicious, and on August 15th specifically is when Denny actually broke into room 46 and stole the letters. By January, so there's a nice 4-month gap there. By January, Denny has sealed up the still after one of their final deals in Reddington falls through. So that's where this one came from. And again, I don't think that Herbert ever knew about this, since his description, he describes this as rusted and unused for decades. So RV presumably had it set up the still water puzzle, and then it was covered up. Denny found it and then sealed it back up afterwards. And since there's no indication that Herbert knew about the moonshine, Denny sealed it up without him ever knowing that there was a still there. So Herbert had no way to deduce the still water clue, even if you solve the cipher. Now, I did not use the trading post because I really would like to find the showroom today as well. And if you go and activate the trade more than or if you do it twice, then you can no longer trade showroom items for another upgrade disc. I learned that one. And so if I can get the showroom first before going out there again, then I can get another upgrade disc, and then I can maybe trade for items to still create my hammer in the workshop. So I don't want to go upgrade overboard with buying stuff here. We've got keys, we've got gems. The shovel is just good business practice. There's some great ones on the horizon that I've been waiting for, and that's one of them. Awesome. Okay, also has one of the most interesting sets of upgrades to talk about from a lore perspective. The billiard room, where are you? There you are. Okay, the speakeasy. Worst option in my opinion, just because I don't mind the dartboard puzzle at all until it gets absolutely insane, by which point I'm probably done playing that game mode. The basic math, not really something I worry about on these, but it does have a cool lore thing. The description of the speakeasy, if you take that upgrade, is when you walk into a bar and see bootleg jugs and darts, it's easy enough to add 2 and 2 together. Love the puns. The speakeasy specifically is named The Mice Will Play, and we'll come across a reference to that one eventually. And actually, next time we go into the break room, because I'm going to pick the break room, when we go in there, we'll talk about it specifically. The break room that we'll see soon, the description is a dimly lit staff break room equipped with a comfortable lounge area, a coffee snack station, and a collection of billiard games for the staff to ponder over. This cozy space served as a 15-minute haven for employees seeking brief escape from their daily tasks. The ability to have a key card every single day, practically, too good to pass up, in my opinion. And the last one, a pool hall. Once a quaint space for amateur gaming, the billiard room has been expanded into a full-blown pool hall, an after-hours magnet for sharks and hustlers aiming to make a quick buck off an unsuspecting mark. A rather curious game of darts continues to provide the less competitive players a unique opportunity to ponder over its unusual rules. So, 2 out of the 3 room descriptions end up with the word ponder in them. Go figure. So there's not anything special or particular about the pool hall as far as I know. I have it on one of my alternate runs that I'm doing just for fun. Doesn't really say, you add the Great Hall and the foyer and the secret passage. That I never seem to find them, even when they're in there, and thus I have 2 Great Halls and 2 foyers and 2 secret passages. They don't seem to show up any more often, or it could be great. Especially if you're going for an orange strategy and have like the tomorrow hallways, so you can fill your draft pool with hallways to more and more of them to make your way around. And if you have a courtyard and the spare hall, etc., like you could really go all out on an orange drafting strategy and get some great motion around the house and some great connectivity, etc. It's never really been a high priority of mine. I prefer the break room hands down. Let's do that. All right, and since we're here, we'll do the talking. 5, okay, 3, 1, 4, 16. 9, 4, 5, 5, 1. 4, 8, 4, 2. Okay, so this place didn't change a whole lot. They did add a couple of things. They added some machinery back here. For the speakeasy, it has a nice glass thing back here that says The Mice Will Play. That's the name of the speakeasy as a reference to While the Cat is Away, one of a couple of references to Herbert being the cat. And back here in the corner where you wouldn't see it very well, and I don't know how well it's going to show up here, but it does say, hanging out here once again. I can't even read it on my screen. Good Lord. Really reminds me of the good old days at The Mice Will Play. So, quick scratched in reference to the speakeasy. That was where for a few months while Herbert was out at presumably getting care in Reddington. I believe he's in some form of residence, like at a hospital, so for an extended stay, I guess. They transformed this into the speakeasy. Bridget was the bartender. Denny and Christoph provided the moonshine, and they sold it to the staff fairly cheaply. There's a note back here that I should have it on hand. It's from Christoph to Bridget. It says, I've received word that the Baron has decided to end his residency in Trinsdale and we are returning home next week. You've done an amazing job running the bar over the last few months, and it's sad that it's coming to an end. Denny has found a buyer who will likely pay more than the penniless staff here on the estate, so I expect our financial situation will remain stable despite this turn of event. And this is not the voice I give to Christoph, damn. If you can persuade Kirk to change the floor plan back to the billiard room this weekend, our tracks should be covered, and if you need more gems to pay him off, Denny has you covered. The fact that they're asking Kirk to change this back to the billiard room means Kirk knows this is a speakeasy. And so he likely knows about the moonshine operation, even if he's not involved in it, may or may not be buying some, who knows. But it's one of the arguments in favor of the idea that even if Herbert didn't know about the existence of Denny's logbook, Kirk may have. And the fact that it's talking about the moonshine and it indirectly implicates Kirk in that, and that Kirk may have found it and been the one to seal it up and hide it away, because someone had to write the memos that refer to the greenhouse and that secret. It's specifically in the trunk that we talked about in the treasure trove. One of the green memos was there's the secret in the red house or whatever it was, and you changed the color in a handwritten green memo to make it true. There was a secret area of the greenhouse. So someone had to know about it to write that memo. We don't know the handwriting of the handwritten memos. It could be, and I pointed this out in that video, a cursive handwriting from Kirk. I think all caps notes that we see around the house are Kirk, but as a cursive handwriting from him as well, as a distinct different handwriting style. He did the handwritten memos, most of them at least, and so he would have known about that secret in the greenhouse, and so he may have found it, realized the logbook could be used to implicate him and embarrass him to the Baron, and sealed it up or resealed it if Denny had already tried. And so it's a solid argument, and it makes perfect sense, really. I don't know that Kirk is as loyal and outspoken in his loyalty as, say, Randolph is. Randolph would bend over backwards for the Baron and the family. So it's not outside the realm of possibilities that Kirk, while supporting the Baron and an active member of the house, also, felt that, didn't want to get caught up and get in trouble for the moonshine operation and helped cover it up. I kind of like that theory, honestly, but again, there's no direct proof for it besides the fact that someone had to write the memos, and so if you're looking for something to make sense, not a bad theory. Alright, oh, criminally, I am low on steps. I'm going to be counting on that secret garden key, which means I'm going to need a conference room. A little bit risky since I still need to put the burning glass away if I want to be able to use it in the tunnel. So if I don't get the showroom or something to seriously extend my steps, and I realize I've got a kitchen back there, but I'm also trying to save money, then I may just head back out, hit the trading post, see if I can get what I need for sledgehammer, tuck the burning glass away. Ugh. I'm gonna need steps one way or the other. Alright, here we go. Coins are good. Turnip would be great. Haha! Alright, now I need to go out this door and turn south. Ooh, it's free too. Alright. Things are working out. Alright, Master Key is one of the ones that definitely... Let's see, what do I should have these written down. Okay, the Emerald Bracelet, the Master Key, the Ornate Compass, the Sanctum Key, or the Cursed Effigy are what can trade for an upgrade disc outside. Emerald Bracelet, slightly cheaper. I need to afford some steps on my way out the door. But I am getting 20 more steps on my way back, so... But just in case, if I have to swing through the kitchen to buy some steps... either one of these can trade for it. It shouldn't matter which one, and it's not a sure thing. So, see what we can get. You know, as much fun as that would be, because you never know when you're going to get a vault key. And it's free right now. And it has a whole bunch of money in it. Okay, got food waiting for me. A couple rooms that way. Or find the attic, which is the thing I was looking for in the corner. Again, give me the study after I couldn't take the office. 2, 3. Vault key! Haha, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Love it when things pay off. Alright, can I gamble my way up to... No, it's not 100, it's only 80. What am I talking about? There, done. 2 chances outside. Alright, and we have vault key number 149, which is even more money should we actually need it. No, get back open. Okay, so this actually is one of the more important passports in this whole series, because this one has the clues for the clue for the castle puzzle. Which again, when we go to do the castle, we'll talk about all of it at once. But this is one of the 3 fake passports that we have for Mom. Obviously, this one is compromised and so has been crossed off as unusable. The fact that she has 3 fake passports, 2 of which have been compromised and can't be used, means that her involvement, the name she used, etc., is known, and that's why she can't use it anymore. And that tells me that this is when Herbert mentions the events of the last year have catapulted you into this world, etc. I think because the timeline involves more than just the start of the heist and her disappearance and the events, late in the year before, like December when Caleb is sending her the floor plan in the study letter. I think these passports being compromised, I think, indicate her escalating and her taking a more active role in what the Children of Blackwater are doing over that past year. And so the fact that she has these compromised identities is evidence of the fact that she is actively involved in what's going on, and that's part of what Herbert is referring to in that letter. So that's 2 of those open now. All right, here we go. Now we're going out to make things happen. All right, first things first. That's a lot of dice. More crap. All right, not gonna get it. Sometimes a vault key can trade for another vault key, so that one was definitely worth checking out.
I'm gonna use that. Hold on a second here. I need to plan this out for... Really? There we go. Nope. Okay, that for car keys is good. Key card. For Lucky Rabbit's Foot, yes. Okay, so I have the broken lever, the battery pack. Nope. Might as well. Okay. 149 again, nope. Okay. I go do something else for a second, and then I come back. Change your mind? No, you didn't. Damn. Okay, so I have what I need to make. Not much. I can do Lucky Coin Purse. I can run the car keys up to the garage, see if we get anything there. And come back and I can make if nothing else I can make the I won't need the shovel and compass for anything else. I'll make the dowsing rod on my way through.
All right. So you and right next to it. Dowsing rod. Done. Okay. Electromagnet, Lucky Purse. Done. Okay. And since I just used the piece, so I can't make the electromagnet right now, and I don't want to actually. And Sampic Amplifier I can't because my metal detector is currently in the form of a burning glass. Okay, so let's go hit up the garage. Should we get to this way and drop off coat check on our way there? Annoyed that I have to keep that there another day. I would much rather have used it after getting a sledgehammer and and then being able to put like the whichever master key or emerald bracelet I didn't trade away in there. But alas. Anybody want to give me a sledgehammer? No, you just keep the same friggin' vault key back. Not as helpful as you seem to think it is, game. Alright. Well, okay, we put the burning glass back away. Can't do anything left back down the tunnel. We need to go end the day in the break room. Otherwise, we are unfortunately done. And calling it a day. All right. Do a quick check on things. All We talked about the upgrades there, so we're done with that one. So waiting on the parlor for upgrades. Haven't drafted the trophy room yet. We are good on the boudoir, or I mean on the purple rooms. No, I just have to look at the name of the boudoir. Still need the mechanarium. We have drafted we talked about the casino, so the vestibule is the only one left there, which that's only a handful of rooms before we get our full directory trophy. That'll be nice. We did. Okay, we're caught up on trophies. Caught up on constellations. I have not yet read the last two drafting strategies. Okay, we're all caught up on books. We did that one. Not bought those. Still waiting on the beef stew pie, but we got most of the. We got 60% of the spread foods done today. That was not bad. We got the Distillery trading post upgrade disc done. Still need the Aries Sanctum, the Aries Sanctum, and the Nuance Sanctum. Wait, no, we did Aries Sanctum. I know there was one more I needed to check off. That one's done. All right, still need to go draft the tunnel all the way. That'll be good to do. 2 more Alzaras. We got 1 done tonight. Still never bothered to pull the lever in the greenhouse. All right, we had the Emerald Bracelet. We have had the Master Key. We've had Vault 149. This is how many of these? 14. Oh, wait, we may actually not. No, I already had some of these letters pulled in. I had like 4 or 5 of these done, plus the 10 that we kicked off this time. So we definitely have all the mailroom letters done, so I can reset that experiment finally. And we have at least used the blessing of the chef. We are at exactly 50% of the way done. I really wanted to go well past that, not literally to 50%. All right. Calling it quits for the night. Thank you, everybody who came in to hang out. John Aries, if you're still here, thank you for coming in. Hope to see you again in future Blueprint streams. Monday nights are Blueprints nights, and until I'm done with this, I'm running this completion series, and then all the YouTube versions or the episodes are cut up and put out and in a condensed form out on my YouTube channel for anybody now or later. I have a lot of Blueprints content out there, including what is the complete history in chronological order leading up to day 1 of the game out there, and there's also where the Blackbridge lore video that I've references on my YouTube channel, and a lot of Blueprints bingo and some other challenge modes and stuff that are out there. So if you like Blueprints, that there's a lot of good content out there, I think. Plenty of other games out there as well that I play. For the rest of June, on all the non-Blueprints nights that I stream, we will be playing Hogwarts Legacy, and specifically I will also be kicking off on Wednesday night, the first night that I play Hogwarts Legacy. We'll be kicking off a charity stream benefiting the Trevor Project, a charity that helps out youths who are LGBTQ+, and so if you know the significance for why I might be donating to that while playing Hogwarts Legacy. Anyway, stop by if you like the game, or you want to check it out if you've never seen it, or if you just want to support the charity. Any or all of the above. Or if you're just curious in general. Love to have you in. So anybody else who is still lurking, appreciate you being here. Confusing Concoction, hope you've had a great morning, however long you were able to hang around. Appreciate you coming in. And as usual, I finished these off too late to really go and raid out, unfortunately. So we're just going to call it a night. and hope everybody has a good day, good night, good time zone. Thanks for being here.